And Maddie read my mind as usual. Okay, so we are going to begin with a very small guided meditation. And this may be one that you've done before. If that's the case, that's okay. But if you're comfortable, close your eyes. And we're going to start by picturing ourselves in our kitchen. It's a beautiful day, just hanging out, got nothing really going on. We're in our kitchen, and we walk over to the countertop where we've gotten out a cutting board and a knife. And we turn around and we go to the refrigerator, step over to it, and we can see the handle as we reach out and take the handle and open the refrigerator door. Inside is a lemon. Go ahead and pick that up. Feel it's cold, firm in your hand. And shut the fridge door and take the lemon back over to your cutting board. Okay, and you'll pick up your knife. And however you would cut the lemon in half, go ahead and do that now. Lemon probably sprayed a little fine mist into the air. Maybe you can even smell it. Go ahead and cut one of the halves in half again. Now you have a little lemon wedge. Maybe it's leaking juice onto the cutting board. Maybe the smell of lemon is getting stronger in the air. Take the wedge of lemon, put it in your mouth, and bite onto it. And put the lemon back down. And when you're ready, open your eyes. At any point, did your body react during the guided meditation? Myra, when was that?
I've done something similar before, and my mouth started watering. And I think I knew it was coming.
Yeah.
It always works for me too. So I like it.
Anybody else got the watery mouth or the clenched jaws, like you're actually tasting something that's that bitter? I could smell that first miss. Jody, what about you?
Yeah, I could definitely smell it. It felt good. It was like, it felt like summertime.
So fresh. So I love this tiny little meditation. It feels like one of the most powerful exercises we can do to be shown the power of our mind. That when we picture something in our mind, our body responds. So essentially, the leap we're making here is that our emotions are also sensations coming from what we're picturing in our mind. When we see an image of the past or we see an image of the future, we worry about the future or we're regretting the past, something like that. Our body creates a response that feels something like suffering. The other thing that we did in this meditation, which is how we approach the work as well, is that we anchored into a moment in time. So there was a very real setting. You could see yourself there. You could picture the cutting board. You could picture the fridge. You could picture the whole thing. And that is really important when you're doing the work because our mind wants to pull in all the times that we've encountered this problem or this person or whatever. And it's like each of those could be their own worksheet. So it's not that they're not important or that they don't matter, but inside of a moment is where we can do the best work. We would anchor into a particular moment in time. So the goal of the work of Byron Katie is to relieve suffering. It basically isn't about like, trading out I believe that this is true, and changing it to, oh no, this is actually what's true. She's like, that's actually just trading one belief for another belief, and you're basically in the same boat. The goal of inquiry and investigation is to open the mind to where it can see that nothing is absolutely true, and that any thought that we have could be questioned. And probably because we live in a physical dual world, the opposite is there somewhere. And it's not necessarily like, okay, you have to change over to this one, but it's like, try it on and anchor back into that moment in time and see if it's true, even just a little bit. And the way she describes it is like getting still in the moment, in the question of, is that turnaround true? Is the opposite true? And that if you sit in it long enough, that there will be something that gets shown. So like your intuition or another memory that comes in to show you that, like, to the original example could be something like, my dad doesn't care about me. And then we try on the opposite of, my dad does care about me. And while meditating on that, maybe we witness, how hard he worked to be able to provide for us, or something like that, that lets us know, like, okay, maybe in that particular situation there was some uncaring, whatever, there's something going on, but like in the bigger picture, I can see where he does care about me. So then you're at least not locked in to the only reality you can see is, he doesn't care about me. So we're opening our mind to just consider options and possibilities beyond the one that's right in front of us, especially when we're suffering. Can we take that one off, like take off the shirt and put on a different shirt? Maybe it feels a little better. Maybe there's some relief in that. We don't have to wear it. If it doesn't fit, take it back off. You can always put your old one back on. You can try on a completely different one. That's why I love the idea of doing the work with other people and getting to hear different viewpoints and ideas. Um, so yeah, that's like a little bit of an overview of kind of why the work works, is because our mind is so powerful, and this is the process of questioning the mind, so that when you're holding a thought, it's it's serving you, and it's helping us to feel as good as we can feel, and we're not ever leaving ourselves like asleep inside of a bad dream. The feeling of suffering, the sensation of suffering, is to wake us up, is to let us know that there's something kinder that we could find. She calls it waking up to reality, and that reality is always kinder than the story at its best. So when we're suffering, it's kind to question that and to wake ourselves up, if at all we can. Yeah. So that's like a teeny little overview. And then I think we'll just jump right in. Unless there's any questions, we'll like fill out the worksheet together and get one of those going.
I have one question.
Yeah,
I
totally.
I might be jumping ahead, but like
That's okay.
just I'm not familiar with her at all. An ex tried to introduce me to her, and the ex was it didn't end well. So I ignored it. And then now Carly's saying it. I'm like, oh wow,
Totally.
listen. But does she recommend like a specific time in your life to do this, or like, a time of like, do you do it when you're in distress, or like trying it out like today where I'm just like, rolling out of bed late kind of thing? Does she recommend like a time of day or a time of year or whatever time of life to do this?
So, yeah, I think that's a great question. Because it is so anchored into a moment in time, like when you really think about that, there's a lot of different moments of suffering that we've encountered in our life and that we continue to encounter. And so basically, all of those could be their own worksheet. And it's not to overwhelm, it's more like, have the work for breakfast, maybe have it again for dinner, like maybe like one worksheet a day, or even like one piece of one worksheet a day. She says, like, when you're really getting still and wanting to be shown, like waiting to be shown whatever like your true truth really is, your true nature's version of the story. She's like, you might spend 20 minutes a day for 30 days on the same worksheet, because to really sit in it takes some time to be able to see beyond the one that's right in front of you. And that's okay. That like it can be kind of slow work. So maybe it's part of a daily practice. Maybe you do it when you're extra stressed out about like a particular situation. I do think when you're feeling the emotion is a really great time to write it down on the worksheet. The other day, my dog pottied on my carpet and I lost my shit a little bit. And then the other dog came along and squatted on the same spot and was going to like cover it up with her body. Lost my shit again. And I wrote a worksheet. I locked them both out of my room and I sat there and I wrote a worksheet about Stella and Scooby should not pee on my carpet. I need them to go outside. I was so mad. And it was so great to just like when you write it down on the page, like there's now like enough distance where again there's like a chance to wake yourself up to kind of like how crazy like what you're experiencing really is, like when you just kind of leave it inside your mind. So that's kind of a buckshot answer to your question, but I hope that helps. Yeah, cool. So the worksheet takes like maybe 5 or 6 minutes to fill in, super easy. And I'm actually going to share my screen here so it's in the recording. And we will go to thework.com where all of her stuff is free. And if you go up to the top right where it says downloads, and then the Judge Your Neighbor worksheet, and I'm going to download it in English. And we're going to start with number 1, and we'll just move through them together. So we're picking out a stressful situation, preferably with another person. Especially when you're new to the work, it really does help to introduce a second person into it rather than just kind of judging yourself. It's just easier on the ego to judge somebody else, and we still get there in the end. So if we can judge somebody else, we can judge a neighbor, a friend, or a loved one, or whoever. We're going to start with naming the emotion. I am what? I'm angry. I am scared. I'm frustrated. I'm stressed out. With who? Name it as best we can. If it is a real person or a group. And then because. Because why? So I am angry with Paul because he lied to me. That's an example. And I will say on this, like, probably the simpler you keep it, the easier it's going to be to get some clarity with it. So let's say, like, I was even doing one earlier this morning where I am mad at Jason because he lied to me and he did this. And I even took it like apart. Like, I am mad at Jason because he lied to me. And like, just take it kind of one piece of the story at a time. So when you're ready, we will move on to your wants. I want the person to do what, or change what, or say what. Welcome, Maxine. Just to catch you up real quick, we're filling out the Judge Your Neighbor worksheet. It's what I have shown here on the screen. And we're currently filling out number 2. In this situation, I want so-and-so to do what? So if you want to start back up at number 1, does anybody need more time on number 2? Good. Okay. And Maxine, did you have a question before I get the group started on number 3? Okay. Yeah, we're like 20 minutes in, so I apologize. I'm probably not going to be able to catch you up, but the recording will be available later if you'd rather watch from the beginning. Did you want to ask a question? Okay, so I think we're going to move on to number 3. So your person should or shouldn't, you're giving them advice. So what should they do or what shouldn't they do? And again, it really does to just kind of be as honest as you possibly can with it and what feels real and true. And again, once we have it on paper, we'll have everything we need to look at it a little bit more clearly. So we don't need to worry about trying to make it sound nice right now. Anybody need more time for number 3? Seem good? Okay, so I'm going to scroll back up. So number 4 are our needs. So for you to be happy in this situation, what do you need the person to think, say, feel, or do? I need the person to what? Jody's cracking herself up over there. Yeah, it can, especially when we get to the next one, it gets really funny. Anybody need more time on number 4? Got our needs down. Okay, so number 5 are our complaints. We want to know, what do you think about him or her in this situation? Make a list. And it is okay. It says right here on the worksheet, it's okay to be petty and judgmental. Makes the whole process easier. So and so is what? What they got going on? Anybody want some more time on that one? Looking good? Okay, and last but not least, what is it about this person or situation that you don't ever want to experience again? I don't ever want what? Anybody need more time? Good. Okay. So that is the whole worksheet. That's all you got to write down. And once you have that, you're ready to do the work. The work consists of 4 questions and a turnaround. So the 4 questions and the example that we're going to use in this, just to let you know what the questions are, is Paul lied to me. So the first question is it true? And remember, this is a meditative process where we're anchoring into a moment in time. So anytime we answer one of these questions, we're going to drop in to that moment in time and we're going to see ourselves in that situation. And from inside of that situation, we'll answer as best we can. So it's really not a process of like dialogue and conversation so much as it is an opportunity to get still inside of ourselves and see what images are coming up inside. So if the answer is yes, then we ask number 2, can you absolutely know it that it's true? Another way to say it is, are you sure? And even if they're both yes, that's still okay. The right answer is the truth. So there is no right answer yes or right answer is no or anything like that. Number 3 is, how do you react? What happens when you believe that thought? So again, when we get still inside of ourselves and we drop into that situation and we see, when we think the thought, Paul lied to me, and I believe that that's true, how do I react in that moment? We'll witness what happened when we believed our thoughts. And then number 4 is imagining who or what would you be without the thought. So again, dropping back into the same situation, we're looking around, we're looking at the other people there, but we no longer hold the thought that Paul lied to me or whatever the thought is that we're working with. And we witness what's going on aside from me thinking that thought in this moment. So those are the 4 questions, and we'll do basically the idea is that you do the 4 questions on number 1 through 5. And once you've questioned the thoughts on numbers 1 through 5, on each of them, you also turn the thought around. So the turnaround is trying to find the opposites. So like, we live in a dual world where every front has a back, every up has a down. So if one piece is true, then the opposite is likely just as true, if not more true. And so as we turn the thought around, we'll flip it like, instead of Paul lied to me, I lied to me. Instead of Paul lied to me, I lied to Paul. Paul didn't lie to me. Paul told me the truth. These aren't intended to replace the thought you were having. This is like, instead of wearing the shoes you have on, take your shoes off, put on the other pair of shoes, a different pair of shoes, and walk around in those. See if it feels better. Maybe it feels worse. We're not trying to swap out one belief for another. We're honestly trying to get to a space where we have our mind opened and we're really not sure of anything, surely not, definitely not sure enough to suffer over it. And I think really the best way you can get a handle on this work is to see an example. So with that, first I'll ask if there are any questions before we ask for a brave volunteer who feels comfortable reading what they wrote on their worksheet and letting us witness that process out loud. So any questions? Seems like we might be okay. And what about a volunteer? I didn't do a worksheet, so somebody else is going to have to do it.
I guess I'll volunteer.
Oh boy. Okay, cool. So excited, Demetria. All right, so we're gonna start with that anchoring into the moment. If you want to share, like, what did you write on number 1? We'll just kind of start there.
For number 1, I wrote that I was frustrated and upset with an old friend because I felt like she portrayed me and turned the family against me and my goddaughter, because I started talking to her brother. And, like ever since like I got pregnant by her brother, our relationship, and this is 4 years ago, it's just like I can't go. Like I grew up around her family, but now ever since we don't talk, it's almost like I can't, go around to family, events. And I grew up around her family pretty much since I was 15. So I had a 15-year relationship. Of course, we got into it like sisters, but I haven't spoken to her in 4 years. And my goddaughter, was my goddaughter, she don't want me to have no access to her. So it's like, it's kind of painful. So, and for number 2, I said, I want
Hang on just a second. Okay. So we're going to just take it really slow. Okay. And I think that was really helpful because I think everybody can kind of see into the situation. And so I think we can all anchor better inside of that situation of having this estrangement and the past relationship that's also kind of being grieved at the same time. So let's like take it kind of one piece at a time and go back to what you wrote on number 1 and just kind of read that exactly.
Right. I am frustrated with Nat because I feel like she betrayed me and she turned everyone against me, including my goddaughter.
Okay. So let's take just the first part of I am frustrated with, what did you say her name was?
We call her Net.
Net.
Net, N-E-T, just Net, like a net. Mm-hmm.
So I'm frustrated with Net because she betrayed me. Mm-hmm. So let's just start with that. And close your eyes if you would. Mm-hmm. And where are you physically as you're having this thought? Can you see where you are? Like, are you in your kitchen? Are you in your bedroom?
I'm in my living room.
Okay. Are you standing or are you sitting?
I'm sitting down.
Okay. Is anybody else there?
No, nobody else is here.
Okay. So you're sitting in the living room and you're having the thought that I'm frustrated with her because she betrayed me. Mm-hmm. Okay. So the first question is it true?
As we
hang on just a second. So the answer?
No.
The answer is no?
The reason why I say that is because
So
That's just how
hang
I
on,
feel.
hang on just a second. You're not right or wrong. You're not right or wrong at all. But this is the work, is to get still inside of your own process. And I know it's weird since we're all here, but like this is for you to go inward. And basically, we're wanting to see, when you sit in that thought of she betrayed me,
Mhm.
are there any images of the past that come to mind? She betrayed me.
Yeah, I do, but I guess it's kind of tricky because it's like, okay, but I don't want to be punished or continue to be trapped by this thought either. So I'm questioning, is it true myself? Like, do I know that for sure? I don't
Right. And let's
know
even
that for
just
sure.
kind of take it one step at a time, because so the answers to these first two questions are yes or no. And if you feel like I need to say yes, because like there really, it doesn't have to be any kind of explanation. So we're looking for just an honest yes or no of, is it true she betrayed you?
Yes, because that's how I feel.
And
know,
the explanation, the everything that comes after the word because, is our ego identity trying to be seen and heard. And that's not wrong. It's very, very, very normal. And it's essentially what we're trying to like step away from. It's the part that's causing the problem. It's the part that has the story that's causing the suffering. So when we don't let ourselves dive into our story, we're again going back into stillness and letting the truth rise from inside. So it sounds like the honest answer, the right answer is yes.
right.
That she betrayed me. From where you're sitting in that moment on the couch in your living room, that's true.
Right.
And that's such an honest answer on that first question, because if you didn't believe it, you wouldn't have wrote it on the paper. So most likely the first answer is like always going to be yes. Otherwise, you wouldn't need to do the work. You would already be outside of the illusion. So that makes sense. And then what you said of like, okay, so close back into yourself. You're sitting on the couch. And now we ask ourselves, can we absolutely know it's true that we're frustrated because she betrayed us?
That's where it's like,
So yes
do
or
I
no?
know? No.
No.
I mean, that's just what I
So,
feel.
right. And so quiet into and still into that no. Like give that no some space where no, I cannot know for sure that she betrayed me.
Mm-hmm.
And feel that as far as coming out of, like, basically your world opens up a little bit with that possibility now in the mix that maybe she did, maybe she didn't.
It's true.
That's the work, and that's the space that now, even just with the first two questions, we can see. So now we're back on the couch in the living room, and we're thinking the thought, she betrayed me. And how does your mind, and again, this isn't like an actual question where I want you to answer out loud. I want you to see in your mind, how do you react when you think and believe that thought, that she betrayed me? Again, this is where there could be past future images.
Angry, upset, frustrated.
And what is your attitude towards her?
My attitude towards her is like,
Like,
and it's so deeply intuitive. I years later, I'm still having dreams about it. Is this back and forth? once I think I've healed from it, it's another layer.
So in that moment, sitting on the couch, and you're there by yourself, and you have the thought, she betrayed me, and you get angry in that moment, and you could probably feel the anger in your body. And
I more so feel like, why it's like, let it go. Like,
so that's denial. This is like the end of denial. This is where we give ourselves the space to feel what we feel and not try to make it be different. We can't let go of anything. It lets go of us when we understand that it isn't real. So see how uncomfortable it is to even like stay in she betrayed me, because there's like a level of self-judgment.
Because I want to run from that. Like, I don't want to feel that. Like,
you're beginning to see through your ego's hold on you, and your ego will get out of it a million times. They'll be like, no, don't even think about that. And that's denial. And this is the truth. This is like investigating the truth rather than just accepting it at face value that she betrayed me. So when we think about how we react to that thought, when we believe it, it does not feel good, is basically what you're saying. And if you drop back,
and I feel like I've been running from it too. So,
for good reason, probably. There's usually a reason that we repress and that we go into denial and we won't let ourselves deal with something. Usually it's because it's really painful. So if you find it uncomfortable to sit quietly in the work, it probably means you're doing it correctly. It brings you face to face with what reality was. And it makes us let go of the story. So this is like, you see how even just this one piece of, I'm mad at her because she betrayed me. So let's say we're back in the living room, and we're sitting on the couch. And the fourth question is, who would you be in that moment, sitting on the couch in your living room without this thought? As you look around your living room and you witness this moment that you're in.
You said, who would I be?
Yes, who are you in this moment, sitting on your couch in your living room? If you take that thought out of the picture, who are you about it?
Free, focused on me, not being concerned with other people. Yep.
How does that feel?
Good, because that's the only control I really do have, is me.
How does it feel in your body when we get still and drop in? Like when we take the thought away, and you said it feels free. Where do you feel that in your body?
I feel that in my heart. Like, it's just like I can breathe deeper.
Yeah. Breathe into that space that you just made. Like, this is the work working, is I can breathe easier. My
Right.
chest is lighter. And it is just one little bit at a time. And being gentle with ourselves. So do you want to do some turnarounds? Like, basically find some opposites of
Yes.
Net betrayed me
Yes.
Can you think of any opposites?
I was thinking when I was looking at it, did I betray me?
Well, let's try that one on. I betrayed me. So close your eyes and you're sitting on your couch. You're in your living room. I betrayed me, and just get still in that. I betrayed me. And what are you shown?
That's how you release and let go, because
What was the picture that you saw in your mind?
just letting go. What I wanted her to do, it's almost like that's what I need to do.
You're definitely right, but again, like you're kind of jumping to the end and like wanting to skip to the end. And I think that's the ego being like, yeah, I get it. It's fine. No, I see. I need to let it go. And it's like, you're tricky, but I see you. Because in this moment of you sinking into the stillness of, I betrayed me. In this situation with her, I betrayed me. What does that mean to you? What picture of past or future did you get shown? And if you're not shown anything, then you need to sit in it longer. Like basically, is there an image that shows you where you were betraying yourself, how that happened? And if, go ahead.
It's really deep and interesting, because it's like, am I trying to control something here?
So were you shown an image of past or future in that meditation?
No, I don't have an image. I just more so feel, more than anything, feel that.
So I think that means like we can definitely try a different opposite too. But that's where she says, like, I mean, you might spend 20 minutes a day for 30 days in a row on a worksheet, because until you get still and you get shown, like the mind will take you away again and again. But I have another idea for a turnaround. Do you want to hear it?
Yes.
So I betrayed net. And this would kind of be the same as far as like, it's just something to try on, like a pair of shoes, and sit in it and see.
I never thought about it like that.
And I think there's one more, which is net did not betray me, is the other opposite. So this has like been an awesome in-depth look at the work and the ego's tricks of like how to yank it out of how to yank us out of the work and back into the story. And I'm right there with you, Denitria, because when I'm doing the work by myself, like in my room, it's like I already know the answer when I'm writing down the worksheet. So the temptation is to jump to the end, like, oh, I'm all these things and I need to do what I want them to do. Yep, I get it. And it's like that is a fancy way of bypassing having to look at the errors of your own reasoning, which the ego does not want you to do. The ego wants you to keep believing. Because when the ego isn't believed, like now we're outside of its control. If it can't scare us into conforming, then who knows what we'll do? Who knows what we'll decide to do? And who knows how big we'll get? The ego is like over here trying to keep us safe and small and protected. And that's not wrong, but the ego works through a lot of fear and a lot of judgment. And those things aren't in our true nature. Our true nature is loving and accepting. And when we can be with our ego in like a loving way, like the ego is allowed to be as scared as it wants, the ego is allowed to think any judgment it wants, the ego can have its own world going on. And that's all, like, that's kind of the best we can ever do. And then our true nature can be riding alongside of it, questioning what the ego is offering, and that we're free to explore what the ego offers, and we're free to explore all of these other opposites. And then we're not locked in to our suffering. You know, we have options, we have choices of where do we want to go in our thoughts. And sometimes we can get off the subject. I think that that's like its own skill that is valid and that isn't really aligned with the work. It's like maybe sometimes there's situations that hurt too bad to face, and there you just get off the subject, and good for you for not spiraling in your suffering thoughts. And other times when we do feel ready or strong enough, or like it's risen to the surface and it's the right time to look at this, the work is that process of inquiry that is going to force you to take it step by step by step. And basically, what you're asking of yourself, you're asking your ego to show you like the logic of what it's presented, and it can't, because it isn't logical. It's 100% emotional, and it's not real. It's a dream in your head. It's a picture of the past. It's a picture of the future. And as long as we're believing that, then we're kind of under the spell. We're in the dream of the ego. And taking it step by step by step like this, and forcing yourself to like sit in the stillness of the turnarounds and the is it true, and really wanting to know, like kind of the end of, or I guess like the beginning of freedom is deciding that you would rather feel free than be right. And like this is a perfect example, Denitria's beautiful example of like, when we give up the thought, when we let go of this story, we feel free. And when we tell the story, we don't feel free. And so at that point, we get to decide, like, can you see a reason that you want to keep this story that doesn't hurt, that doesn't feel stressful when you think about it? Is there a reason that feels good to keep that story? Or is there a different version that feels better than the original? And that will emerge not through like rewriting the story in your brain and trying to like get it to be the right words. It's like that's what gets shown to you. It's like I have an example from a worksheet on my dad where I was so mad at him for leaving and like basically abandoning us, even though he was going to work. I'm mad at him for abandoning us. And when I really like sat with it and worked through it, and like the new version of the story is that he granted me freedom from his influence. And that is a tremendous gift that he gave me. And the opposite of him being there would have been extremely painful. And he did not subject me to that. So to think he doesn't care about me, that couldn't be further from the truth. Of course he cares about me. He was gone. That was what was best for me. And he did it, even though that made him the bad guy. So the past is the same. Nothing changed as far as like the factual events, but our story can be shown to us for what it is, a very small snippet of what the reality of the situation truly was. You did really good work there. You found new space within that same story. And you weren't running away from it. You weren't trying to force yourself to be different. You were just exploring inside the possibility that maybe there's a thought beyond the one I've got so far.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. For real. Does anybody else have any feedback or questions? Does anybody else want to volunteer to read something that they wrote? Go through a little sample of the process?
I just wanted to say thank you to Demetria for volunteering that. That was really helpful. That was a big one.
It's a perfect example. Very relatable. So I think we can wrap it up there. And I just want to say thank you to everyone for being here, and especially Demetria for sharing. I can't even imagine the level of courage that it takes to like take your truth that you're still trying to figure out, even like how to get it to a place where you're happy with it, and then you show it to other people. So that takes a lot of guts, and I really appreciate that. I know it was beneficial for the group and anybody who's catching the replay. So thank you so much to all of you. I am open to hosting this again in the future. I think I personally would really enjoy that. I don't know exactly when, but if you're interested in catching another one of these, let me know in the comments on the replay. And that it might help me figure out, like, is that something we do next month or next time the wave comes around, you know? Anywho, yeah, I appreciate all of you. And if you have any questions, I would love to help clarify if I can at all. So yeah, thank you so much for being here, and take good care. I'll see you all next time. Okay. Bye.